Uh, Section 2 of the Chapter 4 test, calculation part and the vocabulary part. These are the angles in an isosceles triangle that are congruent. Should be the base angles, which is letter E. This is a statement that can be proven true using deductive reasoning. That is a theorem, which is K. The segment from a vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side, that's A, median. This is the longest side of a right triangle, that's hypotenuse, which is O. This is something that we have to assume true, cannot be proven true, that's I, which is a postulate. The perpendicular segment from a vertex to a line that contains the opposite side, that is an altitude, which is G. When two figures are the same size, same shape, they are congruent, which is M. A line ray segment is perpendicular to another segment at its midpoint, that's perpendicular bisector, which is F. A side of an isosceles triangle is opposite the vertex angle, that is the base, which is N. This takes a larger angle and creates two smaller congruent angles from it, that's an angle bisector, which is B. The side that create, or two sides that create the right angle and a right triangle are legs, which is C. Looking at question number 2, or 12, I guess, says find x if kt is 3x minus 4 and kw is 2x plus 4. Just want to highlight the parts that we know that we're given. We're given kt and we're given kw. Okay, those two segments overlap, so we want to use the 1/3 and 2/3 ratios. We've got to determine now which parts we use. Well, K to T, that segment there goes from a vertex to the centroid, so that's the 2/3 part. So I'm going to write KT and KW. I want to make them equal. Okay, they're not equal right now. I've got to apply the 1/3, or sorry, the 2/3. So KT is 2/3 KW. KT is 2/3 KW, okay, and that should make sense. KT is smaller than KW. Now just plug in, KT was 3x minus 4. KW is 2/3 times 2x plus 4. A couple things you can do. I think what you guys probably liked in class the best was multiplying the entire thing by 3 to both sides. So that 3 will cancel with the denominator there, and this 3 over here will give me a 9x minus 12 is equal to 2 times 2x plus 4. Now that becomes 4x plus 8, and this is 9x minus 12. Subtract 4x from both sides, add 12 to both sides, so x is equal to 4, and that's our answer for number 12. Going on then to number 15, maybe if I can scroll down. There we go. It says if I were to draw a segment from a vertex angle and an isosceles triangle to the base at the midpoint, list all the things that this segment would be in respect to the isosceles triangle. I'm not asking what it does to the vertex angle or the base, but what type of segment would it be for the triangle. Okay, you're asking what is it for the triangle. Well, the two things that it would be are median. Hold on, there we go. Median and an altitude. Okay. Question 16, for the following picture, draw 3 altitudes for the given triangle. In order to draw the 3 altitudes, what you want to do for this first one is to extend that line there, okay, because I want to go from this point perpendicular to the side opposite, and the only way I can go perpendicular to the side opposite is if I extend that opposite side. So now perpendicular would look kind of maybe like that. Okay, so that's 1 altitude. The other altitude, I would have to extend this side here, and I want to go from, and that side should overlap, but I want to go from that point there to this side, so that looks like that'd be perpendicular. And again, I just wanted a rough sketch, see if you knew what you were doing. And then from this vertex to the side opposite it would be this side over here. I would just draw, that little short line, but that one, but I want to go all the way through so it meets up with the other ones. And if you've done this correctly, which a little bit off, but they should all three intersect at the same point. So those are all your altitudes for that triangle. It's an obtuse triangle, so your altitudes intersect on the outside of the triangle. That point right there, we talked about in class being the orthocenter. On the back, if V is the midpoint of MS, then NV is a blank of triangle MNS. V is the midpoint of that segment right there. So then if that's the midpoint, then NV has to be a median. If NV is perpendicular to VS, and that's all we know, then triangle MNS has to be an altitude. If segment NV bisects angle MNS, NV bisects angle MNS, so highlight that angle, MNS. We're talking about this angle here, or that segment bisecting that purple angle. It says then Q, a point right there, is going to be equidistant from which two things? Well, it's got to be segment MN and segment SN. If NV is perpendicular bisector MS and Q is on NV, then Q is equidistant from what two things? So I'm going to highlight the parts that we're talking about. NV is perpendicular to MS. NV is the perpendicular bisector, so Q, any point on there, would be equidistant from M and from S. So from those 2 points. A blank triangle is a triangle where the medians, the angle bisectors, and the altitudes are all identical segments and are congruent. That is equilateral or equiangular. Either one's fine. Question 22 says if ER is congruent to EV, and identify which angles are congruent. Look at that angle, that segment being congruent to that segment. So that's the isosceles triangle. Therefore, the angle opposite that side and the angle opposite that side have to be congruent. So angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. Here it says angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. ES is 3y plus 5, and ET is 25 minus y. Find y. So we know angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent, so the sides opposite those. It's converse to the isosceles triangle theorem. Those angles have to be, those sides have to be congruent. So ES is 3y plus 5, and ET is 25 minus y. Add y to both sides. Subtract 5 from both sides. Y ends up being 5. Looking at this question down here, number 24, it says suppose IG and HG are medians. If IG, which is this segment right here, is a median, then this segment is congruent to that segment. For the same reason, if that is a median, then this segment is congruent to that segment. We know that HG, because that definition of midpoint says that those are, or median says that those 2 points are midpoints. GH is negative 9x plus 38, and FG is 3x minus 10. I set those two things equal to one another because we're told that those are medians. The green line is a median. So the G is a midpoint, so H to G and G to F are identical. They're congruent segments. I'll add 9x to both sides. At the same time, I'll add 10 to both sides. So you get x to end up being 4. Okay. Now they want us to find JI, which is that segment right there. Okay. Now I don't have in all of this over here, we don't have a algebraic representation of JI, but we do have an algebraic representation of FJ. FJ is x plus 3. So if that distance there is x plus 3 and x is 4, f to j is 7. But we also know that this yellow line here is a median, so j is a midpoint. So if j is a midpoint, fj is 7, but so is I to j. Okay, so ji or ij should be 7. Working down here, let's say, let me start erasing some of this stuff. We say that PT is equal to 3x plus 8 and TS is equal to 4x minus T. Knowing that RT is an altitude and angle measure, or measure of angle PTR is 5x plus 15. So if RT is an altitude, that's a right angle. And angle PTR is that angle right there. Well, if angle PTR is a right angle and it's equal to 5x plus 15, I can say 5x plus 15 should equal 90 degrees. I can take 5x is equal to, subtract 15 from both sides, so it's going to give me what, 75. X then has to be 15. If x is 15, it now wants to know is RT also a median? Well, if it was a median, then we would have to know that that segment there is congruent to that segment there. They say PT, that right there is 3x plus 8. And S to T is 4x minus 2. Okay. Once I know what x is, being 15, I should be able to take 15 and plug it in right here and get 15 times 4 is 60, minus 2 is 58. So T to S is 58. Then plug it into TP for x. So 3 times 15 is 45, plus 8 is 53. So in order to be a median, this segment here would have to be identical to that segment there, and one's 58, one's 53, so no, they are not, or it is not a median. In triangle MNO, angle M is congruent to angle N. NO is 3x plus 5. MN is at 7x minus 10. And OM is equal to 5x minus 7. Find the length of the three sides of the triangle. Well, in order to do this, draw a picture. MNO. It says angle M is congruent to angle N. So now you know this side over here is congruent to that side over there by the converse isosceles triangle theorem. So NO, which is 3x plus 5, should equal MO, which is 5x minus 7. That's the relationship that allows me to find x. I'll subtract 3x from both sides. You'll get 2x over here. Add 7 to both sides. So we get 12 over here. So I end up with x being 6. Once x is 6, I can go ahead and say, well, 3 times 6 is 18 plus 5 is 23. So NO is 23. Now I should know OM to be 23 as well. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure. 5 times 6 is 30 minus 7 is 23. MO is 23. And now 7 times 6 is 42 minus 10 is 32. If you go over any of these questions and you still are confused or lost, please do not hesitate to come see me.